If you don't use these puppies to work on your shitbox, you need to leave. Nah, I'm just jorking it. Car tools have become so outrageously priced, I might just need to start wrenching on bolts with my toes. And don't even get me started on toolboxes. Like, why are we spending the price of a car on a toolbox? You do not need this snap-on. But as you mechanics already know, there are some tools you can cheap out on and just get the Harbor Freight tools. Like, I am completely fine just using like Pittsburgh impact sockets with absolutely no problem. However, if you're doing like some transmission work, you cannot cheap out on some of this stuff. You're probably gonna need the snap-on ring pliers if you're working on a transmission. But anyways, you guys get the point. But seriously, why have tools become less quality and more expensive at the same time and they still don't fix the issue? This is going to be a long one like always, so grab a snack, finish your poo, or listen to me while you sleep. Welcome to the Car Tool Epidemic. Chapter 1, the cost of tools. Now, if working on your own garbage box was already expensive enough, get ready for selling your testicle to afford basic socket sets. And statistically, it's pretty accurate. The price of motor vehicle parts and equipment has increased roughly 27% since January of 2020. And this was driven by recent supply chain strains, inflation, as you guys already know, and imported part tariffs. And just the bottom line of tools, they're just not made in America anymore, and I'm sure that's not gonna change anytime soon. Like, imagine you're trying to do a regular brake job, you jack up the car, take off the wheel, remove the caliper bolts, and use a $10 C-clamp from like Harbor Freight to compress your brake piston, slap on the new pads, and boom, you're done. Sounds simple enough, right? Wait, whoa, what the hell is that? Well, EBP exists. Car manufacturers thought they would pull a funny, and now you cannot physically compress a piston with a C-clamp anymore. And this is usually for the newer models and some of the hybrids right now, but if you try, you will shatter the internal electric motor. You must now hook up a bidirectional OBD2 diagnostic scanner to command the ECU to put the brakes into maintenance mode, which electronically reacts with the motor so you can actually change the pads. And oh, changing tranny fluid? Yeah, have fun nowadays with that. So long story short, frick the automakers. And guys, we need to stop falling for this robbery. Please tell me you guys aren't actually buying these $1,000 floor jacks. Tell me it's not true, please. And so apparently I looked into these numbers, and let me remind you, these numbers will look wildly different depending on how much you actually wrench on cars and if you do this as a side gig. But according to statistics, setting up a functionally home automotive tool shop typically costs between $3,000 and $10,000 for tools. Now, I know you snap-on goblins have probably $30,000 or even $100,000 or even more in tools alone. I honestly thought that statistic was a little low. And honestly, I'm pretty interested. I would like to know the majority of the viewership right now. Comment what you guys are using for tools and how much your setup costs. Chapter 2, Brand Beef. There are people out there right now who swear by their brand of choice and would literally take a bullet for that company if they got the opportunity to. For me personally, whatever gets the job done for me will work. But I guess I wouldn't mind someday having a really nice set of tools. However, for a little fun, I'm going to do a mini segment of ranking automotive tools by what I think quality and durability is. So if your brand is in tier 3 or 4, well, womp womp. Tier 1, I would say, and let me know if you guys actually agree with this list: Snap-on, Mac Tools, Maco Tools, SK Performance Tools, Right Tool, Nipix. And then in tier 2, I have Milwaukee, Ingersoll Rand, Bosch, DeWalt. And then in tier 3, I have Gear Wrench and Craftsman. And then tier 4, I have Cobalt and Husky. Those are the main ones. I'm not putting any like niche ones in there. That would just be a waste of time. But I think I got most of them covered. Some of you that I see, I genuinely believe you joined a religion for how much brand loyalty you have towards them. But like again, I will say my wallet says I just need to choose the one that's gonna get the job done. And also another side note tangent, I will say I like air tools a little better just because you get more power out of them. And I hate the idea of having to buy a tool that has a battery and now you have the cycle of tool, battery, charger, another tool, a bigger battery, another charger. Like, I don't really like that. It will definitely add up over time in your bank account. discount. But if you're enjoying this video, leave a like, it really helps grow the channel. Thank you very much. And I've been really thinking about making merch. If you want me to start making merch, I will. I have been working on it. So yeah, just let me know in the comments also if you want that. Chapter 3, the tool truck debt trap. Now these trucks right here are the ones that scream and then leave you with an outstanding credit payment for each month. And here's the primary issue of this. You got young apprentice mechanics out there making an average of like $20 an hour. And for the very first thing that happens in a tool guy, he's gonna pull up, right? He hands a Monster energy drink and says, "Hey kid, it's alright. You can get everything on one payment plan, just 50 bucks a week." And next thing you know, guys are pulling out credit lines for all the tool guys. They end up with $10,000 here, $15,000 there. And if you've been scammed by this, I'm sorry. But I mean, you're the one who did the payments. And did you guys know that mechanics and shop customers currently owe Snap-on's finance arm more than $1 billion, billion with a B, and they are getting slammed with an average interest rate of 17.6%. Like, I cannot imagine 17.6. My school loans are at 8.5%, and that's even still bad for me, and it hurts. And you know what also paints my portrait? People are buying 5K OBD scanners and then paying subscription fees to make it work. Like, that has to be the silliest thing I've ever heard. So for my younger guys out there, I'm sure you'll be okay if your box is not as shiny as Bill's, alright? You'll be fine. Chapter 4, the right to repair war. So back to what I was talking about earlier with the whole complicated brakes thing. Because automakers have decided that even if you somehow afford the tools, they still don't want you touching your own garbage box.
When I was working in the dealerships, oftentimes I would have customers come in who just had a caliper installed or a lift motor installed or a windshield installed or something that needed to be reprogrammed but could only be reprogrammed by the dealership. So these other shops were able to replace the component, but they couldn't complete the repair because they didn't have what they needed to actually program these components that frankly shouldn't need programming.
They are basically using telematics gated diagnostics, where now automakers hide your car's mechanical diagnostics in an over-the-air system that they completely lock down. You know, Stellantis, they use the security gateway module that literally affects and restricts aftermarket diagnostic tools from accessing your ECU data. And Volkswagen is just as guilty as charged. They are doing the same thing. They're calling their version like a component protection. This system is designed so you can't even clear your basic fault code unless you are using tools registered and authenticated by them. Like, imagine paying $40,000 for a vehicle and then a manufacturer tells you, "Yeah, nah bro, you have to use our clearance to know why your check engine light is on." It's literally a software paywall just to fix your own car. And luckily, people are actually doing something about it. There is a massive push for the Right to Repair Act right now. This would legally prevent these manufacturers from deploying these barriers, forcing them to give the actual equal access to their own vehicle generated data. And at that point too, just like buy an older car, they can't touch those yet. So yeah, support Right to Repair. Stop going down your 17% interest debt for a metal box and keep wrenching on your own terms. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. I always like your opinions. I watch. Grab your toe wrenches and I'll see you in the next one on Torque Savvy. Peace.